Amy slammed down her green sandals, smashing two redcoats who had taken up positions behind a daisy with longbows. King Terry yodeled into the cone, summoning 1,000-strong army of black coats, the most fearsome warriors of the Keltoi, from every hole in the ground, and at their head was the sinister Uki Mac, who was, by the way, an unheard of 8 mean inches in height. Uki was the little man with the knife who Sam had met in the tunnel. Now Uki wielded a nasty-looking double-headed axe and screamed like a berserker. Shawnee trembled and she told Sam how that bad goblin had dragged her from her home down the tunnel as Sam had gone to buy the ice creams. "Run!" Amy shouted. She picked up Denis McLod and then tried to head back to the cave, but the black coat spiralled around her, Shawnee and Sam. Uki Mac screamed in delight and he kicked his spindly legs together in mid-air. He tried to bring down the axe on Amy's sandal, but she dodged the blade and it took a black coat's head clean off. Just when things looked bleak, screams filled the air. 2 monsters had arrived, Pinky and Perky. Amy's cats had followed her through the secret passage. Cats are the only creatures that terrified the Keltoi, and the blackcoats fled back down their holes away from the felines, deserting King Terry, who now had a ghastly smell somewhere in the upper regions of his tights. Pinky and Perky, Amy Butler's cats, had saved the day. To the Keltoi, several races of what we now know as the mythical little people, the felines were terrifying, and many of the leprechauns and malarkins, that's what Uki Mac is, in particular, were highly allergic to the cats. King Terry broke out in blue circles which covered his green skin because Pinky's tail had fleetingly brushed against his nose as he hid from her in the grass. McLod was terrified of cats as well, and when he had discovered that Mrs. Edwards was going to give the Kelly family a kitten, he made Sam write the ghastly threatening letter to her in his sleep and sleepwalked to Mrs. Edwards' house to deliver it. Nasty, but necessary in McLod's opinion. Amy bent down and grabbed King Terry. She dangled him before her face, gritted her teeth, then in her deafening voice told him if he ever tried to abduct Shawnee or any other child just to become a brainwashed warrior for his silly war games, she'd send every alley cat in Kensington down the secret passage to his world. Well, King Terry burst into tears. He wasn't used to being told off, and Denis McLod, perched on Sam Kelly's shoulder, cringed at the sight of the blubbering ruler. To make things worse, Amy took the golden wedding ring off King Terry's head, revealing his spiralling comb-over, and she put it on the 3rd finger of her left hand. A perfect fit. "My crown!" he sobbed, and Amy cruelly flicked him in his round belly with her index finger, then put him on the ground, where he began to sob again. Something very sinister then happened. Uki Mac flitted out from a hole, threw his arms protectively round the uncrowned king, and looked up at Amy with intense hatred in his black-rimmed eyes. He grated his teeth, making a sickeningly loud grinding sound, then darted back into the hole with the king. Amy picked up Pinky, and little Shawnee picked up Perky, and squeezed them against the breastplate of her armour. The children and the leprechaun set off for the cave, and finally reached the Kelly household. Mrs. Kelly sobbed uncontrollably as she first hugged Sam and Shawnee. Sam spouted his rambling version of what had happened, but Amy kept butting in and correcting him, as did Shawnee. The police and Mr. and Mrs. Kelly refused to believe the incredible tale about the Keltoi, and McLod, who would have proved to be a key witness, had gone missing. The passageway's entrance was merely plastered over, and they all lived happily ever after. Well, at least for a few months anyway. You see, the longer revenge is delayed, the crueler it becomes. And on Halloween that year at 6 p.m, Amy Butler went to play on the swings at the playground in the Paddington area of Liverpool. Someone started pushing her swing. Amy giggled, thinking it was Sam, but this person suddenly started to push her with quite some strength. She half-turned and saw it was Ookie Mac. As she swung back towards him, he grabbed the wooden seat and he let out a blood-curdling scream. With Keltoy's strength, he pushed the swing with so much force, Amy swung over the safety bar 360 degrees, right round, and then he swung her again, but this time she leaped off the swing and went flying onto her back. She lay there on the ground of gravel and granulated glass, quite winded. Ookie Mac put a foot on her left wrist and took out his dagger, ready to cut off the fingers bearing the crown ring. A cricket bat, welded by Sam, smashed into the evil Malarkin. He recovered from the bruising blow, then escaped down a grid in the road. Amy got to her feet, spat into the palm of her hand, and then she shook Sam's hand.
I say we go back and teach him a lesson once and for all.
Sam nodded and, well, I may tell you the rest some day.